Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a mystery that sat on a shelf, cold, for nearly 30 years. And just when it seemed like all hope was lost, a single, last-minute phone call completely blew the investigation wide open.
You know that powerful feeling from Tutsi Tukaro, that relentless drive for justice? It's the same fire that has kept another family fighting for answers for over 3 decades. It's a fight that's really at the heart of the case we're talking about today, the case of Alberta Williams.
For almost 3 decades, the murder of 24-year-old Alberta Williams in British Columbia was a painful, frustrating cold case. The investigation had very few leads and really just focused on one main person of interest, her uncle-in-law, a man named Jack Little. So, years turned into decades, and for Alberta's family, all they heard was silence, broken only by whispers and rumors. But they never stopped hoping that someday, someone would finally come forward with the truth. All they ever wanted was just to know what happened that night. Okay, so get this. A team of journalists was literally wrapping up their own investigation into the case, getting ready to fly home when a single phone call came in, and with it, a completely new and pretty startling story started to take shape.
The call was about this distant relative, a woman named Amanda, and the rumor was that she had seen something really suspicious the weekend Alberta went missing, but she had always been too afraid to talk to the police, scared for her family's safety. So the journalists immediately call Alberta's sister Claudia to ask about this. And she confirms it. Yeah, she'd heard that story years ago. It was this supposed sighting of Alberta in a totally different town, Terrace, an hour and a half away from where she was last seen. And one of the men in that truck, supposedly, it was Jack Little.
Right away, this just raises a ton of questions. I mean, why would Alberta be in Terrace? And why on earth did Amanda and her sister Yvonne, the supposed witnesses, stay quiet for so many years? Turns out, Claudia had wondered the exact same thing, and had even told them they needed to go to the police.
So when the journalists finally managed to track down one of the witnesses, Yvonne, the story that had been just a rumor for all these years, well, it suddenly got a whole lot more confusing and way more detailed.
The stories just weren't lining up. See, Claudia had heard there were 3 guys in the truck. But Yvonne, who says she was actually there, was adamant she only saw 2 men. And she said it wasn't just some passing sighting. Alberta had actually come to their door late at night in the rain.
And then, Yvonne drops an absolute bombshell. She identifies the second man in the truck. He wasn't just some random white guy. She called him Kathy's husband. And just like that, a completely unknown person is thrown into the mix.
This was a total shock. I mean, after all this time, after talking to so many family members, the journalists had never, not once, heard of another sister named Kathy. Yvonne's entire story was hanging on a person they didn't even know existed.
This single name, Kathy, was about to completely reframe the entire case. It was the key to a massive breakthrough.
A quick, frantic phone call back to Claudia confirms it. Alberta did, in fact, have another sister. Her name was Kathy, and she lived in Prince Rupert at the time of the murder. And here's the kicker. Claudia also confirmed that back in 1989, Kathy had a boyfriend, a man named Ken Collinson. All of a sudden, the mysterious Kathy's husband had a name.
Now, what's so remarkable here is how these new details line up perfectly with the alibi Jack Little gave police way back in 1989. See, Jack had always claimed he saw Alberta leave the bar with a mysterious white guy in a pickup truck, a story the police had totally dismissed.
Suddenly, the entire foundation of the case was just shaken to its core. The police had written off Jack's story as a lie, but now here was a new witness account pointing to a white man who was friends with Jack and who drove a little black truck. Could they have ignored a critical lead for decades?
So now they've got more questions than answers, and their flight home to Toronto is just hours away. The journalists have a choice to make. They could leave and try to follow up from thousands of miles away, or they could chase this thing down right now.
They decided there was no way they could leave now. The momentum was just too strong. They canceled their flight home and booked a new one, heading north to Prince Rupert. They had to find Kathy, Amanda, and just maybe this new person of interest, Ken Collinson.
After a pretty tense flight on a tiny plane, they land in this remote northern town. It's a place that's deeply scarred by loss, as it sits right at the start of Highway 16, a road infamously known as the Highway of Tears.
While they're waiting for the rental van at the bus terminal, one of the journalists, Marnie, just starts chatting with a cab driver. And on a total whim, she asks if he remembers a taxi driver named Ken who worked there 30 years ago. His answer was absolutely stunning.
And this was the moment everything changed. The man they had just learned about, a potential key to a 30-year-old murder, he wasn't some ghost from the past. He was on duty, driving his cab in that very town at that very moment.